Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to podcast 6 of UABC's Tea Room. This week, we are discussing some of the new regulations that the Alberta government has put into place for indoor sport, physical activity, and recreation, as well as how that may impact our club's fall sessions. So my name is Shirley, and I'm the current president of the badminton club. I help oversee most of the club and our team's activities. Here with me today are 3 of our executive members.
Hi, my name is Nick, so I am the club's treasurer. Nice to talk to everyone again.
Hi, my name is Viet. I'm the club gym safety officer.
Hello, my name is Ronnie, and I'm the executive assistant. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, well, thanks, guys, for joining today for the podcast. So I just want to kind of start off with talking about the new regulations that have been kind of enforced through the government of Alberta for the for indoor sports. So I think a lot of the stuff, as an overview, has been kind of trying to maintain social distance, and then also having a lot of sanitizer on hand as well, and then also trying to enforce wearing masks when you aren't actively playing, as well as they also gave guidelines on the volunteers of how to help, as well as kind of what playing should kind of look like. So, have any of you guys gone to try out to play badminton yet, and any of the gyms that have been opened?
I have. I've gone to 2 different places so far.
Oh, okay. So, where did you go, Nick? And can you kind of tell us what your experiences were like there?
Yeah, sure, of course, I'd be happy to. So last Sunday, so I'm back in Calgary right now, for everyone who's just wondering. So in Calgary, there's a few kind of badminton centers that have reopened up. The one on Wednesday I went to is called Sunridge Badminton Center, and then to that, I just went yesterday, so today's the 23rd, so Tuesday, so on the 22nd, I went to Center Ave Badminton, and I was able to play with our past execs, like Daniel and Tim, and a few of our club members as well.
So what was it kind of like? Because I know that a lot of different gyms and a lot of different places, they enforce the rules a bit differently. So can you kind of go through with us what you kind of experienced when you went to Sunridge Badminton Centers in terms of like how many people you had to play with, what the playing was like, and what their setup was like inside the building?
So one of my friends, her name's Kim, so she was the one that kind of organized it. So basically, we were allowed to play with the same kind of 8 people over and over again. So the courts were kind of put side to side. As you enter the center, everyone was like spaced out as you're kind of paying and entering. And everyone had to enter through like the same door. So kind of like if you've been to restaurants or anywhere recently, you do have to enter in through that kind of same way. Then afterwards, you walk all on the same side. You pass all the different courts. And then to that, you kind of get to your place. You have to make sure all your bags and everything are kind of spread out apart from each other. And like on the couches and everything, it says like we're limited 1 per person. So you have to place your stuff accordingly. And afterwards, you just start playing with like the same people over for the same day. With everyone in the mass, it kind of depended on their comfort level. So for example, someone that I played with, he wore a mask actually the whole time playing.
Oh no.
And sitting at, most of us just didn't have a mask while we were playing, and then afterwards we just sat down afterwards. During the games and after, I mean, no one touched each other. It was just either just like kind of patting each other with the rackets, or after the game was done, kind of shaking hands with kind of just touching the rackets with each other.
Oh, okay. Oh, and I just want to clarify for anyone who's listening to this as well, even though the person that Nick did play with was wearing a mask, it is advised against wearing a mask by the government Alberta and like through different health organizations. Just because when you're being physically active and you are wearing a mask, that does restrict your oxygen consumption, which is greatly increased. Like the need for oxygen by your body is greatly increased when you're being physically active. So that would put more of a physical strain on your body. So our club is not promoting that you do wear a mask while you are playing. It mostly is for when you are sitting off the sideline and you aren't playing. So I just want to clarify that for anyone who is listening. So going back to the playing, so that sounds like they had like it was pretty relaxed in terms of kind of the regulations that they set up. Did they have anything like, the grocery stores where they have arrows or anything where you have to follow a specific walking space?
Correct, yeah. So when you come in, you follow a specific path to get inside the building and then a specific path outside the building.
Okay.
You are allowed to play doubles, even though I know like the government did recommend playing singles, and Badminton Alberta kind of recommended playing singles. But as long as you're playing with the same 4 to 8 people, then you should be totally fine. Just playing those games together.
Was there any like empty courts that were kind of spaced in between? Just because I know from going to Sunridge Badminton Center before, the courts are side by side and can be pretty close together, and I know that even though people aren't going to be like within 2 meters distance with each other at all times, there is the potential, like when people are really intense and like they can't really be mindful of the space that they're in, and then they by chance 2 people on different courts just cross out into the outlines just to hit a shot, and they get really close to each other. Do they have anything set in place in terms of like distancing to kind of prevent that, or do they just have regular play?
No, it's mostly regular play, but kind of the groups that you've kind of were set with, those courts are kind of set next to each other. Then afterward, then they kind of have a space in between for those courts. It's just kind of those group of 8 are kind of lumped together on that side.
Oh, okay, I see. So you, when you went, you basically had 8 people sharing one court?
Correct. No, 8 people sharing 2 courts.
Okay, so you booked 2 courts. Okay, that makes more sense. I thought you totally had like 8 people for one court, and like I was like, oh, how did you sit
no.
around? Oh my gosh. Okay. And what about the other place that you went to? You said you went to a second place, right?
So I went to Center at Badminton yesterday. I was able to play with kind of Tim, Daniel, Tony, and a few other people, so that was a lot of fun. That one, basically kind of the same thing, but the thing is, with that place, they had significantly less people, I think.
Okay.
You had to book well in advance for those courts, and they definitely had kind of the spacing in between each of the bookings. Kind of the same thing as Sunridge. We had 8 people, so we had those 2 courts side by side to each other. Then afterwards, the rest of them were spread out across the whole entire arena. So significantly less people kind of allowed in the gym to kind of play.
Okay.
But you are still allowed to play with those same people.
Oh, okay. Sorry, and did you say that you were allowed to play doubles?
Yes, you are allowed to play doubles. I played doubles both days. I never played singles.
Okay. Do you know if any other groups were trying to intermix with other groups to play and at all? Because I'm just assuming there could be potential for like intermixing of teams and stuff. Because people, I think, sometimes do want diversity and variety in their play. Was there any flexibility for that at all?
Very little. When I went to Center Ave, it was just the 8 of us.
Okay.
So we mostly just kind of changed the combinations between the 8 people.
Okay.
At Sunridge, we had a lot more people. It was like 2 groups of 8, so it was like 16.
Okay.
So some people intermingled a bit more.
Okay.
I personally didn't, just because I wanted to stay safe that way.
Okay.
The event coordinator, Kim, she was so funny. She's like, I really came here to make sure no one would kind of intermingle, mix up the groups as much. But I ended up being the one that intermingled the most.
Sometimes you just can't help it if you're a social person.
Yeah. So it was a bit tougher, a lot of us, but we ended up mostly playing like with the same people kind of during playtime.
Yeah, I can totally see how, like it's better to be safe than sorry in these circumstances, just because like by intermingling a lot, like that just increases the risk that you can kind of, like, and people can be like asymptomatic, not like very often, but like sometimes and not know, and just being like intermingling more just increases the chances that you can like pass around things to people. So I know that for a lot of these badminton gyms, they do bookings, so it is a little bit easier for them to kind of regulate who plays and like the amount of playtime and all that stuff. Like I think for our club though, like that's gonna be a bit hard just because ours is mostly very drop-in basis and not as much booking, unless we decide to do like more of a advanced name sign up thing for people to come and play. But I think that would just kind of not be the style of our club. But like, I think it'd also be very hard to kind of control people just sticking together and playing together.
I have a question before that. Like, so
Oh, sure.
what does the staff member wears, like, and then what do they tell you when you enter? And also, like, do they sanitize things after you leave or something like that? Like,
Oh yeah, good question. When I entered, they did ask me like the basic questions like, oh, have you been in contact with anyone with COVID? Do you have a fever? Are you sick? Like blah blah blah. And then they do take my temperature actually. At Sunridge they took my temperature. At Center Ave they didn't. So I guess it also depends on the equipment that people have.
Okay.
do they wear masks? Do they use gloves? Or like, how do they handle like cash? Or how do they handle like stuff like that?
Yeah, so there is the screen divider between them and the cash. They have a little basket for you to put the cash in, so you just throw the cash in, they exchange it. They do wear gloves and they do wear a mask.
And then do you see them like sanitize like right after, like when you leave, or like you don't know, like?
I'm pretty sure after like everyone left, like they sanitized the whole place and everything. Like after I was done, like I'm pretty sure they sanitized everything. There was like hand sanitizer everywhere, like on every court as well.
Yep.
So that was pretty important.
Yeah, are you mostly asking if like they sanitize after every booking?
Yeah, I was asking about that, but probably he don't know because if he leave, he cannot see.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking too. Because I thought they were supposed to. I don't know if it's like a heavily enforced thing, but it was more kind of like a suggestion to sanitize after every, like in between every booking. Was that something that you saw maybe at all, Nick? If you were aware at all?
I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't, just because with both the groups, I left a bit earlier than everyone else, so I didn't get to see kind of the cleaning in action.
Those things related to our setup nets and then put away nets, like, I don't know, do we have to do anything like when we put away nets, or like someone can help us setting up nets, those stuff, because sanitizing is important.
Yeah, I think like for us, like as a team, we'd probably have to like buy and stock up on some cleaning materials, if anything, especially hand sanitizer, if nothing else. I think in terms of like the equipment, I don't know if we're supposed to clean it, but I have a feeling like we might have to kind of a bit. I think the hard part, like the poles will be probably easy to clean just because, you know, like they're straight, they're metal, like whatever. Like I'm just more kind of worried about the nets, just because like you have to like roll them up, and like you're gonna be like the surface area that you're touching for the net is like so much bigger too. And it's kind of like I love when our members help too, because I think that in a way kind of helps build the community a bit, you know, like everyone kind of helping each other, and I would like to keep that, but I just don't know either if it would be realistic to kind of have that in place as well, just because, you know, with more people touching things, it might be more of a safety issue, but I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel similar, because like if their hand is sanitized, then I think it's better. But even that during playtime, like they could have touched a lot of things, or like something could happen in between the playtime, and then when they have to put away, it might not be safe. But I think if they sanitize their hand, like beginning and the end, something like that, then they could help, I guess.
I kind of agree. If you kind of wash your hands before and then after you help clean or like clean up and kind of put up the nets, I think that should be fine. And if you're wearing a mask and not like breathing on the net, I think you're okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's just something that we're gonna have to be very aware of too. Like people who are like cleaning up the nets probably should be the one like with all the masks and stuff. But I think at the same time too, like it might change. When you're talking about the masks and stuff too, I think that was one of the things, right, where they had to have volunteers and staff wear masks and stuff, right? Is that something that you saw at the centers as well, Nick?
Just the receptionist. A few of the other staff didn't wear a mask because they were pretty kind of just distant.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair.
But I think we would be kind of recommending that you wear a mask if you're not playing and just chilling.
I was just not sure if that would have us kind of wearing masks as well during like when we're setting up, just because like if people come and if we do keep the drop in and we interact with a lot of people and there's somebody at the desk and like they have to pay for stuff or have to pick up stuff or they have questions and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just kind of like trying to imagine that like one of us or like a couple of us would have to like rotate and take turns and have to do things kind of like that. But I wasn't sure if that was a strict thing based off of your experience or not.
No, it definitely wasn't like a very strict thing. It was more like it is definitely recommended, but not heavily enforced.
That's totally fair. Oh, and on the topic of touching stuff, because I know we were just talking about cleaning hands before and after, I think one of the big areas as well that might be problematic is shuttle use. Just because for a lot of other places, people bring their own shuttles, but we lend out shuttles.
I think if we were to play, I think temporarily people would have to bring their own shuttles, because if we were going to do it, I think we'd have to do it in like those set groups. Just kind of like how the other centers have been doing it. It would be those set groups, and they would have to bring their own shuttles. Unfortunately, just with the stuff that with right now, I don't think we should be lending out the shuttles because that's just a safety issue.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on like if people come to play, like for the I don't even know if we even have the funds for this. Maybe like you, Nick, or Ronnie could kind of speak to this, but like even if they showed up and if the people didn't want to bring shuttles or like just for consistency's sake, if we gave one shuttle per group to use for the whole session and then they can reuse that for next time. Or like...
Financially, I think would be okay. The thing is though with that standpoint, it's like all the other badminton centers and stuff around Calgary, you still have to bring your own equipment and bring your own shuttles. So I'm on the standpoint that like just temporarily for our club, I know it's a luxury that we provide the shuttles, but for now, just because of safety reasons, I think you should be bringing your own shuttles. And like trying to bring it out of the club's pocket, I think it's a bit kind of unfair, especially during these times. Just because like it's standard to bring your own shuttles, I think it should be standard just to bring your own as well, just for safety reasons.
What about like during the first couple sessions, we actually sign out a shuttle for everyone, and then the other like the next time they come, they're supposed to bring that shuttle every time that they come to session, and then at the end of the semester they return those shuttle to us. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the first thing that comes to mind for people keeping shuttles, especially if it's an individual one, like if people are very particular about it and they don't have anywhere to put it, it just might kind of ruin like the shape and then as a result ruin the play with the shuttle, and then people want to keep asking for more, and then if that happens we would probably potentially need to set something in place to be like, oh, if you like lose it or if you damage it and you want to get a replacement shuttle, it'll be like $250 or something like that. I don't know, like something more where there's like an accountability to it to like kind of take care of it, because I think that like makes it a big thing too if we're doing more so in a sign out basis. But then I think that if we also aren't kind of giving out the shuttles to use anymore like we did before, like I would totally be fine with that idea. I think though, since some of our membership fees did go towards paying for the shuttles, it might make sense to like reduce the membership even by like a little bit, just to kind of reflect the fact that we're not providing as much in terms of like supplies anymore. But I know that's not like a concrete thing. That's just like a potential flexibility of where we could go. But I do like that idea, Ronnie, of trying to be flexible with our shuttles for people who either don't want to commit to a full tube or whatnot. I don't know. What about gloves? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. So we're like, what if people just wear like a glove on their non-playing hand? And so for example, like for most people, this would be their left hand, and then they use that to pick up the shuttle.
Yeah, how expensive is like there's those gloves, like the thin one that is one time use and throw away a box of it. How expensive is that? Anyone know?
I'm not sure. I think we could either get the one-time use one, but like to be environmentally friendly as well, we could also like suggest people bring their own gloves or something.
Oh, own gloves, okay.
Yeah. Like, would that be weird if you like were playing badminton with a winter mitten on or something? Like,
Wait, why are you playing with a glove on though?
no, like, so like if we do lend out shuttles, right? Like to avoid the touching, they would have their glove on. So they're not really touching with their hand. I don't know if that makes a significant difference, but it might, just so that we can keep like having those shuttle rentals in place if people were to wear gloves. But like I don't know if that's a feasible idea.
I think that's very difficult.
Is it?
I think at the end of the day, you should just be bringing in your own shuttle.
Is it
just
because you think
a lot of the problems?
Yes, I see what you mean. It's like what would be your biggest concern for having people bring like gloves and stuff in to use?
For my concern, it's that even with the glove, like the virus won't get onto the person like playing, but it will get on the shuttles instead, and then like the person cleaning up the shuttles would that would be an issue for them, I think.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I think the biggest thing is like as long as you're one of the things that I experience is as long as you're cleaning your hands regularly, especially before and after play, I think that's the most important part.
Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, that one's going to be a really hard area to do. And I think because of all this too, we won't be able to rent out rackets anymore just because like everything gets on those grips. Like I feel like you literally cannot wash those and nothing will come off. So aside from the shuttles and all that kind of stuff for like in-court games, I know that the government of Alberta too had regulations set in place for what it would look like when people aren't playing, and that's mostly like trying to have a 2-meter distance between either people, and then also wearing masks when you're not playing. But what do you guys think about this and how it could look like for our club?
2 meters away in our club is pretty hard, so I think mask on is a better choice, I guess, because like I don't think people will spread out like 2 meters each away from each other. I feel like they will come in closer than 2 meters than they realize, and it's just best if they have masks on, I think.
Yeah, and I think like a big part of our club is also the more social aspect of it, like meeting new people, like talking to others, and like just limiting that is kind of like pretty hard. So I think having masks be like mandatory would be a better choice in my opinion.
That's totally fair. Do you guys what are your guys' thoughts on having a pre-arrival sign up for people for like groups that they want to play with? You know, kind of like in a way kind of like tournament style where people sign up ahead of time and like their teams and stuff, and if you don't really have people to play with, then you can sign up and then like indicate your level, and then we would group them together just to like maintain their groups and have less rotation between players. What do you guys think of that?
That one I kind of agree with, just because it is the industry standard right now to be just playing in those set groups, just for safety reasons as well. So you should be like kind of signing up and playing with the same people the whole entire time.
I was on the same page as you as well. It's just I can't help but have that feeling in the back of my mind of how that can hurt our community building. You know, like I know that this moving forward, like it would be the right thing to do to kind of have sign up and like have people grouped up and things like that, but you know, it's also so difficult, especially if we do have any new students or new members coming in and like they really don't have anyone to play with. They don't really know their level and we don't know their level, right? Like trying to pair that with others.
Yeah.
I guess it is kind of like a trial and error, but like I don't know if there's anything else that we can kind of do to even alleviate it at all.
It could also be like, we have like a big pool, or like we have like an intermediate pool. We have like a advanced pool. We have a beginner pool, and into that afterwards we kind of shuffle people within that pool, and like, okay, this is your set of 4 to 8 people.
Oh, you mean kind of like ladder play, but like each time they come to session, they play the same people for the entire time.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Oh, and I know that we do have usually, what is it, like 4 hours? No, 3.5 hours on Fridays, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 6:30 to 10.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing as well, because like, yes, we want to promote like kind of community building and kind of getting to know one another with the badminton club, but with COVID, it's kind of priority of everyone's safety and kind of being able to play, I guess, also kind of balancing that compared to, I guess, everyone kind of intermingling with one another, because it's not that safe.
Yeah, I totally feel that. So, in your guys' opinion, like, how much interaction do you think people should be able to have when they're at session at a safe level?
I think if they wear masks, then it's okay, I guess, interaction. Because, like, mask is for, like, when you get closer than 2 meters apart, then you cannot keep the physical distance, then you wear a mask on. If you can keep a physical distance of 2 meters, then you don't need a mask on. If we decide to keep 2 meters distant, then probably we have to have a level. But if they wear a mask on, like to talk to each other, then I think it's fine.
So are you saying mostly that, from your perspective, if people are wearing masks or staying 2 meters away from each other, like it'll be okay if people do want to try and like mingle and socialize with each other?
Yeah. Also back to because if we have pool, then if the same 4 to 8 people play with each other, the shuttle, if you give out the shuttle, like the shuttle can be put in a box, and if you leave it to next week, all the corona will die out, because like corona will stay just on like maximum 1 or 2 days, it die out from the shuttle. So you can leave a box for one day or something, but then corona virus will die out. So you can use the shuttle. Potentially, you can just leave there for, like, if we have enough shuttle, we leave there for 2 weeks and we reuse the shuttle. It should be fine.
I think I can see that happening too. Or like, would you guys say like wait a week, or would it be okay to use it for like next session, like Sunday session, or should we have?
No, I think let's do a week. Like,
okay.
People say it's 1 day, but just stay safe. Just a week apart, then we recycle that shuttle. If we play with the same people, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you mix pools up, like there's no point of having disposable, because now everyone just mix around and then everyone touch the shuttle. But if you just play within one pool of people, that pool of people, we put that shuttle in a box we have, and then we just put it there for 1 week, and it should be fine.
I can see that kind of happening. I think that's a pretty good, neat idea actually. I totally forgot that the COVID doesn't last as long on actual like
surface, cardboard surface, everything like that.
So going back to like the time booking too and people playing, if we do want to do that too, do you guys think that we should also do like time bookings, because we do have 3.5 hours? Because like if it's the same people playing and we don't want that much people coming to session at once just to maintain the social distancing, in my mind it's kind of like, oh, if we split up like 6:30 to like, let's say 7:30, and then 7:30 to like, oh no, that's not, I'm not mathing probably, like 6:30 to 8, and then like 8 to 9:30, and then just leave that half an hour for like cleanup or something. Then we can have people playing more often and less rotating. And then we also like have people using that same shuttle and then using it up and then returning it and giving it back at the end for next week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on kind of that? Because I know it would be like really different than what we're used to as well, like because it decreased the flexibility even more with like time restrictions and stuff.
For now, I think it's good because of the virus situation, and then some people wants to play too. We cannot just let people play the whole session and stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to like have a time sign up, I guess, so other people can enjoy badminton as well.
So what do you guys think like some of the potential negative outcomes would be from that?
The time period is pretty short, but during this time, I don't think we can expect a lot of things. And then obviously when we sign up, then we have to sign up with certain groups, and if we want to play with others, we cannot play with others. So those probably,
limiting the time to play to like an hour or so will feel pretty short. And like again, without the won't be much diversity of who you get to play with and who you get to see. And
the thing is, though, like even if they get like a shorter playing time, I guess it'd just be more like they would still in a way get to play overall longer, just because, you know, for some people when they come for drop-in and they come for the full 3.5 hours, but they have to wait for the rotation and there's a lot of waiting in between, this would just kind of cut the waiting. But like I still don't know if it would equal the same amount of playing time if they were to wait in like in a regular circumstance. So in terms of like playing time, like Nick, what's the average booking like time that they allot for you guys when you do
2 hours.
2 hours? Okay.
Yeah.
Did like the 2 hours feel like it was kind of okay, or did it seem like short?
Yeah, it was actually it was okay. I mean, having the 2 hours is more than fine. Just because, I mean, you're there for the whole entire time. You didn't have to take breaks, I guess. 2 hours for most people right now is more than enough. People get pretty tired pretty quickly since they're all out of shape now. So
Yeah, that's totally fair. I feel like a lot of people coming back to play badminton is going to be like starting from scratch all over again.
1 hour of continuous playing, at least in our club, is not bad, I think. Compared to like previous Friday, I think 1 hour of continuous playing is pretty good.
Oh my god, yeah. Previous Fridays with like the 1 hour of just pure waiting sometimes. So maybe people might like it more. I think the only, like the people that may not like it as much, you know, is the people that don't play very often, just because I can see it being very exhausting.
Yeah.
Another thing too that that might change for our club, I think, would also be coaching. Nick, when you were at the centers, did they have any coaching going on? And if they did, like, what did it kind of look like?
No, they wasn't. It's just play.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure, because I know that, like, some coaching might be starting back up soon, but for us, I would like us to keep coaching, and I think a lot of members like our coaching and would want us to keep our coaching as well. I just don't know if that would be a safety concern or not either, just because I use so many shuttles and people are so close together. Any thoughts?
I think some people did have coaching, but I just wasn't there for it. Again, I was only there for those 2 hour windows, so.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you do coaching now, I think the number of participants need to be down, I guess.
I think it would be possible if we do more of like a one-on-one coaching sort of thing, like a shorter one-on-one session as opposed to having like groups of people coaching at the same time.
So I know coaching's also less intensive. Do you think it'd be reasonable, like, to have people wear masks to do coaching?
No, coaching is pretty intensive. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, like, depending on your level, right? Like, if it's like beginner coaching.
Okay.
It might be like, you know, like serves, like light things, you know, like to ease you into playing badminton and things like that. But I don't know. Like, at the same time, like, I don't know if I would feel safe, and I don't know what your guys' perspective is on like safety of wearing masks, even doing like a light activity.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I don't need the mask while I'm doing activity. I don't think it's that bad.
Do you guys think it'd be feasible to keep coaching and like try and just work around with it?
If it's possible, just start slowly, and if the scenario let you, then you can do a coaching.
True.
Last time, like intermediate and advanced coaching, you have to run a lot, so probably you cannot wear a mask.
Oh, true.
But for sure, like the coach, the coach can have like a mask and wearing gloves is fine for the coach. But I don't know the participant itself.
That's fair. I guess we can just work it slowly at a time. I think just in general, I just hope we have session again, because I think a lot of people, whether they are our members or not, are just kind of like itching to have more badminton opportunities, you know, or just like sport opportunities and like social opportunities and things like that. I just hope we do have that opportunity.
Yeah. Hopefully by September time. I don't think it's going to happen, but if we do get a club session, I really do hope that we can plan something. And of course, this is kind of just the beginning phases of us, the execs, kind of talking and kind of hoping for us to play during the fall session. So again, fingers crossed, hopefully we can get there. We will have a more kind of formalized plan if that kind of happens, kind of detailing everything, and we will be posting that plan on social media. We'll be emailing everyone, past execs. Of course, the university is going to have a big say of what we can do and what we can't do.
Definitely.
So they also will probably have guidelines for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the podcast today was more for just kind of discussion and kind of my experiences, everyone else kind of thoughts on the topic, and how experience for the new kind of measures that we have to take during COVID.
Well said, Nick. Well said. Well, that is all the time that we have for this week's podcast. Thank you for all of our listeners for joining in on us. So as always, stay tuned for our new podcast release either Friday and or Saturdays. But that is the tea for this week.